There's 2 more meals. For lunch, he eats 1 pound of enriched pasta. 1 pound of enriched pasta. It's enriched, that's what helps, right? 2 large ham and cheese sandwiches with mayo on white bread. And energy drinks that total up, just the energy drinks alone, to 1,000 calories. It'd be like drinking 5 Coca-Colas. Is there a problem with that, Brother David? Yes, there's a problem. And then for dinner, another pound of pasta, an entire pizza, and more energy drinks. He slacks off a little bit at supper time. It's breakfast that's the huge one. I'll read that one again. I'd like to try this someday. 3 fried egg sandwiches with cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and mayonnaise, 2 cups of coffee, a 5-egg omelet, a bowl of grits, 3 slices of French toast with powdered sugar, and 3 chocolate chip pancakes. And people began to wonder, how does he do it? Because if you saw him, he's about as thin as this post right here. After one of the races they won, he was given it this number, as if some primate celebrating a win over an enemy. And he had taken off the top part of his swimsuit, and he's just ripped. There's no fat at all. And he eats 12,000 calories a day. How does he do it? Well, at first, it started with a dream. He wanted to be a winner. And he had in his mind that was going to be his priority. And then he found a coach who could help shape him. And he began to get close with that coach. And I'm sure his coach knows Michael Phelps better than anyone on the planet, because Michael Phelps trains 5 to 6 hours in the pool every day with his coach there observing. So it began with a vision, a dream, and setting his personal priorities, and then finding someone who could help him become like that. And then it was this process of daily disciplining himself, daily working out, so that his character began to change. On those days when it seemed impossible to swim 1 more lap, he did it. And as his character began to change and his resolve began to change, his body began to respond, and his trophy case began to fill. And finally, because he did all of those things, he was then able to reach the pinnacle, that place that he has been looking for. 8 gold medals. Will anyone ever equal it? I don't know. Maybe not. And he is now an international celebrity, and he's not done. He is considering swimming in London in the 2012 Olympics. And it's, I think, the perfect analogy for our lives as Christians. Becoming Michael Phelps Christians first takes lordship. The L in life stands for lordship. We're using this acrostic, L-I-F-E. It takes lordship. You must decide that Jesus is going to be your priority, that he must be Lord of all of your life, that the way you dress and the way you act and the goals that you have for life and the things that you think about your kids and your future, they are all filtered through Jesus. That he becomes your priority. That there is nothing else in life that is more important than he is. And the truth is, that's the only way you can find real life, real excitement, real joy, because you were designed to do that very thing, to serve him. Your life is designed to please him and glorify him. And when you can do that, you'll begin to find the life you've always wanted. There are times if you were to ask people, what would you like in life? They would say, I want to have a lot of money. I want to have a great job. I want to get good grades. I want to have good friends. But all of those things are subjective. Some of you who are retired would say, I'd love for my retirement nest egg to be twice as large or 3 times as large, or I'd like to have a vacation house or 3 vacation houses. And those things are subjective too, because how much really is enough? How many friends are enough? How much money is enough? Because you'll spend the money and your friends may move, or there may be a problem with the relationship. And yet if your priorities then begin to change and you say, it's not about these things, it's not about me, but it's about my priority is Christ. He is unchanging. And the great news is you can never get enough of him. Because the more you get of him, the more thirsty you become for him, and the more he pours out on you. And so it has to begin with lordship. Michael Phelps had this idea that I want to be an 8-time gold medal Olympian. We have to say, I want to be the most obedient servant of the Lord that I can be. That has to be our goal and our priority, because that is exactly what we have been designed for. The second thing is intimacy. You have to spend time with him. Michael Phelps spends time with his coach. He spends time talking in the pool, out of the pool. They begin formulating where they are going. And the coach, this is where the analogy differs. The coach is not trying to make Michael Phelps like he himself the coach. He is trying to make Michael Phelps into a world-class athlete. That's where it differs for us. As we spend time with our life coach, as we spend time with Jesus, that is exactly whom we are to become like. As we spend time with him, we begin to say, what are the things that you love, God? What is the character that Jesus had in this situation, and how can I have that in my life? And as we spend time with him, it begins to go deep into us, and our very character changes. And it's through that he can turn your ordinary person into an extraordinary life. And it's just that little extra that's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. And it's that extra of saying, God, you're first. And the whole world may think I'm crazy, and the whole world may do things differently, but you are my priority. And because I'm spending time with you, you're going to take me, a simple person, and use me in a powerful way. And that's the F, formation. That as you spend time with him, you can't help but become more like him. Formation, God wants you to become like he is. We looked in Romans 12 last week about every day laying our lives down and saying, God, this is about you. It is no longer about me. I want to give you my life so that today you can glorify yourself through me, and then in turn, use me to help others glorify you. It's that process that we talk about all the time here at First Baptist Church, Winnsboro. Discover, develop, deliver. That we discover God and his lordship, that we discover who he is, and Sunday mornings we celebrate that, and we sing out because the day is coming when he will come back, and everything in life filters around that reality that God is, and he is coming back. That Jesus is the one who loves us and who wants to shape our lives. And so everything works around that idea, that we discover him, and then we must develop ourselves as we spend time alone with him in this intimate time of Bible study and prayer. Then we begin to allow him to shape us and form us, and we begin to develop those who are around us as well. But the final step is this, E, evangelism. We can love God and we love people, and that changes lives, but there are times where we stop short and we leave much of what we do in terms of formation and developing others inside the walls of this building, or maybe inside the walls of your living room, and we fail to share God's story. But it is only when we share God's story with those who have never heard God's story that our lives become exactly what God has designed them to be. Until we share God's story so that lost people can become saved people, we'll never fully understand the life God wants for us, and we'll never have all the joy that God has waiting for us. You won't have full, abundant life until you share it with others. Back to the Michael Phelps analogy. Can you imagine what would happen if Michael continued to eat as he does and stopped training? Have you ever seen the Michelin Man? He would balloon out. Because what's amazing, he eats 12,000 calories, and obviously that is simply to maintain his body weight, because he's not gaining. If he didn't eat 12,000 calories, can you imagine what would happen? He would stop being able to perform at that level. And so he has found the exact balance so that he can fuel the fire that is within him. There are many of us spiritually who have found a good balance. We know just how much time we need to spend in Bible study, and we'll go to worship a certain number of times. But we don't want to exert too much, because that takes effort and energy. And we would then have to be better prepared in order to do it. There are others of us who don't do any of that. We don't take anything in, and so we are like a malnourished child who has nothing to give because there's nothing inside. And so we have to be people who are not only thinking about, God, how can you shape me and use me, but so work in my life so that it overflows from me, so that there is this fire that you are continually feeding and I can continually give away to others. It's not about you. It is about what God wants to do through you, so that you become this Christian of Olympic proportion. You say, Brother David, I can't do that. I'm not trained. That's why we looked in Acts chapter 4 several weeks. We saw that they looked at Peter and John and they said, we know that they are ordinary men, but what they are doing is extraordinary. They must have been with Jesus. And that's what he can do for you. I want you to see a story in John chapter 4 that outlines how we can prevent our spiritual obesity. And it is by doing this last step. You have to do the other three. If you're not making him Lord and allowing him to become intimate with you and shape your life, then you're not going to have much of a story to tell. Doesn't mean you can't, but simply means that it won't be as compelling. Your story is a direct reflection of your relationship and walk with Him.